Okay, welcome everybody. Good evening. It's so lovely to see so many faces here. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, there's some faces that I recognise. It's so lovely to have you all here this evening, or maybe afternoon, or maybe morning, depending on where in the world you are. So thank you for joining us this evening. It is a pleasure to welcome you to our empowerment webinar, which is the culmination of our Empower Challenge this week. So many of you may have already met me or heard of me, but for those who haven't, I'm Alex O'Neill. I host the Limitless podcast, which is a podcast for change makers. And I've been working with Joe Symes for the last 3 years. Joe Symes is the founder of Progressive Education. And we have been working together to support education startups who want to start their own school or learning community. And it has been an absolute amazing journey for us. So this is what this is all about this evening. We wanted to empower you to take the next step in either launching your school or learning community, or possibly growing it, expanding it if you're already running. So tonight's empowerment webinar will be in 3 parts. Firstly, our panel of education innovators who will be here to talk to you about their setups and how they work and answer all your questions. So I'm very excited for that, and we'll introduce them in a second. Secondly, for the second half of the session, from around about 8:30, we'll be welcoming Simon Squibb to join us and to inspire us to take our dreams forward. And then to round it off at the end, I'll be telling you a bit about our Education Startups community membership, where you can join others who are on the same exciting and sometimes very overwhelming journey of creating your own school or learning community. This is big stuff. So this webinar and the Empower Challenge are actually a celebration of our 1-year anniversary, where last year we ran the Inspire Education Summit and launched our Education Startups community. So the Inspire Summit, we hosted inspirational talks from various education change makers, and the talks are still available for you to access now. So if you wanted to access some of the talks from last year, you can go to educationstartups.org/inspire, and you can grab all of those amazing inspirational talks from last year still. And then we launched our community membership, which has been such a journey this year. It's been an absolute joy. And I'll be sharing a little bit more about it at the end of the webinar, talking about some of the guests that we've got coming up in 2026. And then also talking about our sort of live group sessions, which we have once a month, where you get to meet other people that are going through the same journey that you are, the exciting and sometimes scary journey. But first section of the webinar, I am very excited to welcome our school and learning community panelists to join us this evening. So welcome, guys. Give us a little wave. Unfortunately, I do have bad news that one of our panelists could not make it tonight. Ricardo Semler, unfortunately, is stuck in an airport somewhere because his travel plans have been severely disrupted this week. So he cannot be here live with us this evening, which is such a shame. However, he did very, very kindly, squeezing in between trying to get places, record a video, especially for us, which talks about Lumiar and about some of the Lumiar International progress and exciting things that are coming up for Lumiar International. So yes, we will send that recording out to you after the webinar. So that video is for all of you guys that are here this evening and everyone who signed up, so you don't get to miss out. But we do, however, have some other people from Lumiar, which is going to be very exciting. So thank you for joining us, Claire Walker. Claire is the head of Lumiar UK, the Lumiar school in the UK, she is an experienced educator and school leader and has been at the forefront of running Lumiar for primary and secondary school ages in the UK. So we'll bring Claire on to talk about her experience in just a moment. And joining her is Alice Mondin, one of Lumiar's International in Brazil graduates. And she was just telling us before we came on some of the amazing experiences that she has had so far in her life, which she attributes to attending Lumiar in Brazil. So I can't wait to hear from Alice. And then alongside these two, we have invited the wonderful and lovely Dr. Jo Sweetland, who is going to be talking to us about the conception and founding of, excuse the coughing, the Streams Learning Hub, which is in Bristol in the UK. So this is a part-time learning community, and she will be telling us all about the community as well. And then we have a good amount of space for people to ask questions. So if anything pops up for you, these are the people to ask. They are running the schools, they are there. They are going through the hard times and the good times, and they can tell you the details or how they launched. Anything you want to know, pop your questions into the chat in Zoom, and you can pop those questions in anytime you like, and we'll come to those questions once we get to the Q&A session. So I think that's all the introductions we need. Claire, I'm going to hand over to you.
That's great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be here. I'm going to just chat to you this evening just a little bit about, I'm going to focus it around three things, really. That's the why we do what we do at Lumiar, the how we did it, how we actually started it in the UK, and then also the what we do day to day and what our school looks like and how it's different to other schools. So I'll start at the very beginning, I guess, of our journey. So Lumiar in the UK, obviously Lumiar Brazil International has been going for a while now, but Lumiar in UK has only been going as a school since 2019. It started with a group of really amazing parents who got together and wanted to create something different. Well, they had two visions, actually. One was to create something different for their children because they weren't happy with the current system. And also they wanted to add impact and change and transform our education system. Both those things are pretty epic, right? So that was their two goals. And they started a learning hub, which a 3-day week project. And after looking around at lots of different ways of doing education, Lumiar was the one they landed on, that they connected with the most. And they started this project, which was really successful. And then in 2018, I was on my own journey as an educator. I became a teacher because I wanted to impact and change education, not because I just wanted to teach. And I stayed in mainstream for about 15 years, struggling with that and my classroom always looked very different, but it was really hard to change the schools that I worked in, although I worked with some amazing heads that let me have quite a lot of freedom within my classroom, generally because I've got the results. So I was going on my journey, they were going on theirs, and our paths crossed in a number of different ways, and I ended up getting involved in 2018, just as they were going through the process of an application to become a 5-day week school, an independent school. That journey was very tricky. It was full on. It took us a little while to get it right, but we did. And we are now a really thriving school of 50. We now have a secondary school as well, year 7. We actually have 4 to 14 provision now, and we're currently just doing our application for looking at doing GCSEs as well, so we can take our year 9s on to do GCSEs as well. So it's a very exciting time for us. So that's a little bit about the sort of how and the why and how it started. And sort of my journey, but what we're actually about at Lumiar, we are child-led, we are interest-led, the children create relevant projects themselves. They come up with the ideas, and then with the tutors, they co-create the projects. They start with the end idea for the project. They have these massive project boards. They come up with their question and their idea. And then they decide what they want their end product to be. And then they plan backwards all the skills and knowledge and things they're going to need to be able to get to that end point. So that's the sort of project-based element of it, which is really exciting. That we get to do amazing projects, from looking at poo, which was one of my favourite projects. They wanted to do a project on poo. We looked at lots of amazing things to do with science as part of that. We've looked at democracy and how our country is run. They have looked at different foods and ran a pop-up restaurant. They have made their own movie and had their own world premiere. They've done lots of amazing things over the years. We also focus a lot on character and leadership development. We believe that everybody is a leader, and the leaders aren't always the people that are the loudest standing at the front, but we all have leadership qualities, and we all have to find what that is within us. So we do a lot on character and leadership development. We say that we're fear-free learning, so we don't have rewards or sanctions, so children aren't punished. We do lots of celebrations for each other verbally, and we are really positive in our communication, and we use I guess the way we deal with anything, whether it's something that's gone really well or something that hasn't, is by using our language, using our voices, I guess. So we use the phrase "I noticed" a lot for everything. So that can be, "I noticed that you're really struggling, shall we talk about that?" Or it might be, "I noticed you did this and that's really epic and awesome." So that's how we, I guess, look at, if you like, behaviour or dealing with anything that might come up within the school. We are multi-aged, so we work across different age groups. In Lumiar, we work in cycles. In the UK, it's a little bit different to Brazil. But yeah, they work across age groups, and sometimes that's in smaller groups. So we've got reception year 1 and 2 generally working together, and then year 3, 4, 5 and 6 working together, but in 2 separate classes. And then our year 7, 8s and 9s. But there are a couple of times in the week, in fact all day Friday, where the whole school are completely collaborating together from 4 to 14, which is my favourite day. We are skill focused, so we really love knowledge, and we celebrate knowledge. We think it's really good to know things, right? That's really exciting, but that's not what we focus on. So we are skill focused. You know, we have amazing things these days that we can find out all the knowledge we need to know. So actually the things we focus on is the character and the leadership and the skills that are needed to do those things. We encourage questioning and problem solving. We love it when people can ask really good questions and together find the answers. That's one of our favourite things to do. We have no formal testing, so we assess constantly by conversation, by observing, through conversation, through lots of different ways, but no formal assessing. And we play a lot. We have fun together. We explore together. And that's my favourite thing too. The idea that we completely collaborate and learn together. So there's a kind of I was going to say there's no hierarchy, but we have tutors, and I'm head of education, so there's a bit of sort of a natural structure in there. But on a day-to-day basis, there's no uniform. The students call us by our first names. We collaborate, we learn together. They have a voice. And they use their voices. They know that they can challenge anything that's said within our school environment, as long as it's done respectfully, which is really important. And that they act on that daily. I have students coming to go, "Claire, hang on a minute, we said we were going to do this and we haven't," or "Can we talk about this?" We have a circle meeting once a week, which is brilliant. Everyone contributes to circle. The students run that, they chair it, they take the minutes. That's a big part of what we do. So they're learning from a very early age that their voice is important. So they're not waiting until they're an adult to use their voices, but they know today that they can impact their environment, I guess, and the world now, not necessarily waiting until they're older. And as part of that, we also do something called Reading the World, which means that they are constantly looking at local and global issues and finding solutions for things in our world that aren't going so well, and also celebrating things that are. So that's a little bit about what we do. We try to create space for young people to create, to imagine, to question, to dream, and to solve problems in a meaningful way and in a relevant way. And that's what we do. Our students are confident, they know their strengths, they know the areas that they need to work on, and we really celebrate difference and being really happy with the fact that we are all incredibly different and all really unique, and find ways of working together to celebrate that and each other. So yeah, that's a bit about Lumiar UK and what we do here.
Amazing. Thank you, Claire. Oh, it sounds such a lovely place to be. Like I would love to come and hang out there.
Come and visit anytime.
And so inspiring and empowering for the people there. Fantastic. Alice, would you like to come on and talk a little bit about your Lumiar experience from a student point of view?
Yes, so my name is Alice. I'm born and raised in Brazil. I was born in São Paulo, but I have lived all over Brazil. And I studied in Lumiar, Porto Alegre from 7th grade till 8th grade. And everything that Claire said, I align with that so much. And I think it truly made the person that I am today. And for that, I'm so grateful, because right after, when I graduated middle school in Lumiar, I went to boarding school in the US, and the Lumiar aspect of how the methodology works helped me get into boarding school in the first place, but also as an international student really helped me circulate different friend groups and how to position myself as a human being and as a girl, as a student. The fact that in Lumiar there is so much respect in the classroom was something that I took for my life. And it's that idea of being equal to the professor and to the principal. The idea of hierarchy is not so strong as in other institutions, and I think that made me value so much those who are teaching me, because one thing that I realized when I graduated is that these people who are educating me, who I see every day, they are just as important as my parents, for example. They're responsible for raising me just as much as my parents. And so that really shifted my perspective on how much respect I need to give them. And that to me was really incredible to realize. But once I left middle school in Lumiar and went to boarding school in the US, by junior year, I realized that that was not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to graduate boarding school in the US. And so I called my mom and I told her, I was like, Mom, I want to go back to Brazil, but the only way that I'm going back to Brazil is if I go back to Lumiar. And at that point, my mom was not living in the same town as Lumiar anymore. She was in a different town. And so she told me, she was like, okay, if you want to go to Lumiar, then you have to live by yourself. And I was like, okay, I can do it. For Lumiar, I'll live by myself. And so I got an apartment with my best friend who was also attending Lumiar at the time. And it was a wonderful experience to be 17, living by myself in my favorite town in the world, going to my favorite school with my best friends. And it gave me a lot of independence, which I had already been building up from my years on Lumiar previously and also boarding school. But it gave me a good sense of, okay, I'm a grown up now, and having the support in classroom coming from Lumiar was also wonderful. So during that period, when I was a senior in Lumiar, I applied to a gap year program called Beret Scholars, to which I received a full merit-based scholarship of $100,000, and it was a wonderful experience because it's a global gap year that basically you spend 9 months traveling the 7 world regions. And so we spent 1 month in New York, Sao Paulo, Paris, Istanbul, Nairobi, New Delhi, and Beijing. In those host countries, in host cities, we would have TED Talk styles in the morning. And so in New York, we had the CEO of CNN come and talk to us. In Nairobi, we had a bunch of different UN officials come and join us, and really opened us to different connections and different perspectives on what we can do with our career. And the way that we had the opportunity to talk to them was the way I navigated those conversations was very much attributed to what I learned in Lumiar and being able to talk to the CEO of CNN, not seeing him as, oh, the CEO of CNN, but he's just a person who's here to teach me and to bring to the table what he has to teach me. And so I'll talk to him as a normal person, you know? And having that perspective on human connections was something that I'm very grateful because I feel like I can talk to anyone in the world and not be intimidated by anyone, and also have the empowerment of not be shut down by anyone, you know? And so another aspect that in this gap year that I took, I felt in Lumiar was when I was in China, I was in Shenzhen, and I got invited to do an exhibition in Shenzhen and have some photographies shown, both in Shenzhen and Beijing. And I was putting all the photos in the walls and hanging everything up right before the opening night. And I realized, I was like, this feels like Lumiar. It really feels like one of the Lumiar projects, you know, where everyone would come together, do something for the final of the trimester and everything. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in China doing an exhibition with my best friend's pictures, curating, opening a show. Like, and I wasn't even 20 at the time. I was 19. Like, this is insane. And the most insane part is that I feel the same way as I felt when I was 12 at Lumiar, you know? So carrying that feeling with me and realizing everything that Lumiar has gifted me throughout the years was something really, really empowering throughout my whole educational career.
Amazing, Alice. It sounds like such a wonderful experience. And yeah, if anyone has questions about what it's like to attend Lumiar, get them in the chat and we'll ask Alice at the after we've heard from Joe.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience. And thank you to Claire as well. So that is Lumiar, and Lumiar runs as a full-time registered school that certainly in the UK young people attend full-time. But now we've got something a little different for you, which is Joe Sweetland, who's going to come on and talk to us about Streams Learning Hub. So Joe, come and introduce yourself and talk to us about the hub.
Great. I'm also going to do a little presentation just to keep me on point. Otherwise, I'll drift. So bear with me. Firstly, to say, Alex, Joe, thank you so much. What you do is incredible. I'm always telling you, and this community is so important. And I very much wish it had existed when we started our journey. And I've just come really to share the journey. We're not experts. We are definitely learning with our young people. We collaborate with them. We grow the hub together. And this is just a little bit of where we've been. I can't, sorry, you're hiding my, I don't know how to, I thought I'd planned all this and there we go. Right, can you see that?
No, we haven't got the shared screen now, so if you could share again, that'd be great.
Might happen. Forgive me.
It's always the technology that throws you stuff.
Yeah, I can't see how to turn.
Oh, that looks good. We can see it now.
Great, but I don't know how to move the page across because
can you use your keyboard?
No, it's not letting me do
keyboard.
Anyway, I'll just jump around. and this is my journey. So a little bit about me. I'm an occupational therapist by training. I worked in neurology for a long time and didn't really ever question school. School was just something you did. My parents were teachers, my kids started school, and then I just started to ask questions. I was curious. I was curious as to why we did school in the way that we did. And as we journeyed and as I saw my kids engaging, my son's now 18, my twin girls are 15 now, I just was feeling increasingly that this wasn't the best way for them to learn. Didn't see their curiosity coming alive. I didn't see them excited by the experience of being at school other than they played with their friends, which of course is wonderful. So we stepped out actually at a time when I was one of the governors at school and decided to home educate because I wanted to see what it was like. And we thought we'd try it for a year. And the reality is we didn't go back. So we stayed as home educators, and we are now 8 years in and learning all the time. So we built a home ed community and we called it our learning dojo, and we had a connected community of young people and families, and we were learning together. And the group was really facilitated by myself and my amazing colleague now, Matt. And Matt and I would hold the space, and the young people would come with their questions, they'd come with their ideas, and we would co-create learning projects with them. And that was all kind of squashed into my house. And during that time as well, I was knocking on doors, I was pushing doors. I actually had a conversation with Lumiar International about whether we could start a school in Bristol. We planned to move out to Barcelona to join Learn Life for 6 months to see if we could bring a Learn Life school back to Bristol. But then COVID happened and we couldn't get to Spain, so we didn't go to Barcelona. And so all these journeys, all these kind of pushing, do I want to run a school? Do I not want to run a school? And then it was as we came out of lockdown and as our community was starting to grow, Matt and I were like, this is getting a little bit more serious now. It isn't just friends. It isn't just us kind of holding the space. It's a growing community. And it was then that I connected with Fabienne and Caroline, and the four of us sat together and we went, well, why don't we just see? Why don't we see what it looks like to create a learning community a little bit more formalized, and let's see the journey that we go on. And so we started the hub back in 2023. I really can't go, sorry, forward or backwards on my screen. Can you see my screen still or not?
Yes, I can still see your screen. You can stop sharing and move to the next slide and share again if you like.
That's what I was thinking I'd do, but now it's all completely gone. Or do you know what? Maybe I'll just jump off the screen and just stay like this. It's probably easier, isn't it? I'll talk without slides. And so the hub is a 3-day-a-week learning community. We offer different pop-up and workshops around the city as well. So we're open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we have different workshops on different days. So on Monday, we offer art and a tech club and a textiles club. On Tuesday, we have maths in the morning. We have 2 workshops. One is a maths GCSE, which we're running in collaboration with the City of Bristol College, and one is a supported maths group. And then in the afternoon, we have a science and innovation group, which is exciting and again led by what the young people want to do. And then on a Wednesday, we have a journalism group and we have a hub newspaper, and then alongside that we have a GCSE English as well, which we're running in collaboration with the City of Bristol College. And then in the afternoon, currently we have a cosplay workshop, which we're absolutely loving doing. And then on different days in different places around the city, we offer pop-up workshops or different learning journeys within that. So we've been running this year a GCSE marine science course. The teaching's done online by an amazing facilitator called Jake. And then we do the in-person practical days. We do once a term at the aquarium, which has been absolutely amazing. We've been collaborating with Science Creates, which has a learning lab. It's an incubator for science startups, and we have amazing opportunities there to go into the lab and to learn with real life scientists around different topics like healthcare innovation or how we address the issue of plastic and waste in our world. that's been really fun. And then we've also been opening up online opportunities as well. So building relationships with providers who offer things like Lifter, which is an online program where you can do global citizenship. We've also collaborated with functional skills, so learners can do functional skills, maths and English if they choose to. And then other city partners, so we're looking at doing drama with the Bristol Old Vic, which is a theatre company here, and looking at where we can open up more citywide opportunities, because we're excited that the learners aren't just with us, but they're going out into the community. And we're also connected and learning with Bristol University. So we have students that come into the hub that help facilitate some of our workshops. We also have interns coming from the university and are learning alongside them. And we had a researcher come into the hub last year who did qualitative interviews with all the young people that we were in the hub. And that was really exciting to see, because our heart really is to start building the evidence base to prove that learning outside of school is real and it does happen. So we're on this journey. We have about 40, 50 young people who come in and out of the hub on different days. The parents pay for them to attend, but we keep our costs as low as we can. To be honest, I'll be really real. We do not have a sustainable financial model. We do not really cover our costs, but we just about make it work. And we are currently based in a space that we rent from the City of Bristol College, which was a conversation we had by accident with an amazing community worker there who said, we might have a space, because until that time we've been in different pop-up locations in the city. So we were really excited to step into this space and to have these 2 days and 3 days and 2 rooms and be able to really take ownership of that space, and for the young people to have a sense of place and a sense of belonging as well. So that's been really exciting. Our future plan is eventually that we will move into a more permanent owned space, and that's kind of all really part of the big vision, which I'll talk about in a moment. So we keep growing, we keep learning, our young people keep coming. We have a mix, we have a lot of long-standing home educators, but we also have an increasing number of young people who are falling out of school because school's not working. And so it's an interesting mix within the space. Those which are falling out of school are sort of in needing a space which is more around healing and high agency, and being able to really explore who they are and have a sense of belonging somewhere. And then obviously as they heal and discover themselves, they go into a place really of being the self-directed learners, which obviously we hope all our young people become. And we keep growing. I honestly have a conversation twice a week with a new family, a new parent who's saying, school's not working, what do we do? Where do we go? And that really starts to underpin what is a bigger vision for us, which is really about how we partner with the local authority, because my possibly naive, hopeful belief is that there are inroads and that we really fill that gap with a gap for the people, the young people who don't need specialist educational provision, can't afford a private school education, and yet don't fit in mainstream. And these young people we're increasingly seeing are just falling in the gap and they don't know where to go. And the hub has become a safe space for them and an opportunity to grow from. So in terms of our big vision, we want to keep building the hub, but we want to collaborate and network and grow with others. And we're really starting to do that by talking to other alternative providers. We're starting to build what I see as almost a web across the city of Bristol, that the city becomes a place of learning, that we're all pointing each other in the right direction. We're showing people where to go. We're guiding these young people on their learning journey. We're really excited to keep connecting in with the university. We're connected now with UE as well. We're fortunate to have 2 universities in Bristol, so we're learning alongside those, and we're continuing to build citywide partnerships. And the thing which most interests me, and I'm sure is the reason you guys are all here, is we want to see systemic change. We want to see the education system changed. And I think only as we network and we work together do we really going to see that happen. So that's the bit which is our driver, and that's the bit that keeps us going on the days which are tough, because they do come. And yeah, we continue to learn. So thank you. Sorry, slideshow.
No, that's okay, Joe. Like you were super inspiring anyway without the slides. So that's amazing. It sounds so good what you're doing at Streams. And I love the close-knit relationship you have with Bristol. It just sounds fantastic. So I think you can stop. Can you stop sharing your screen now? I think.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all good. That's all good. Amazing. So yes, it is now time to hand over to your questions. Although actually, before we do that, I think we do have another special guest. Claire, did you want to? Is your daughter there with you?
Yeah, she is. I mean, she's just here to join in the Q&A. So if people want to ask the questions, Honor attended Lumiar from year 2 to year 6. So yeah, so yeah, she's here to answer any questions as well. Just
Perfect.
so Honor, this is
So
Honor.
welcome, Honor. And I spotted that we do have another Lumiar student in the room as well. So if anyone has
we've also got, I think, another 1 or 2 also just that are here as well. So there is plenty of people that might.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys want to share something in the chat about your experiences, please do. If you want to ask questions of them. But I'm going to scroll back up because we've got lots of questions that have come in during that chat. So thank you, everyone. And I'm going to hand over to questions now. Okay, so I think the first question I saw came from Daisy. Okay, so Daisy asks, wanted to ask Claire, how have you made a curriculum at Lumiar that is child designed and Ofsted friendly? And any tips for people who are starting out on how to bridge the gap between kind of having this amazing vision of wanting to like have completely, child-led learning space, but also having to be inspected?
Yeah, I think I spoke to you about this earlier, didn't I, Alex? About that kind of I feel like I'm walking on a tightrope the whole time between being compliant and doing all the stuff that we have to do, but while remaining true to our Lumiar roots and the sort of freedom to learn and the agency. And I think the best way to describe it is, I think what we try and do is take what the students want to know and then also consider as educators. In fact, Lumiar call us like educational alchemists. As the tutor, we're educational alchemists. I've always loved that. I've always thought it sounds so amazing. I love being an educational alchemist and taking what they want to know, but also I guess some of the stuff they need to know, and then making this beautiful mix of what that looks like together. And using the Mosaic, which is an online tool that we use to plan and assess together with the students. It's really brilliant because the students create the project essentially. So they say what they want to learn, they come up with the questions and the content, and then the tutors use a kind of backlog of all different sort of standards and skills to attach to the project, and then that's the skills and knowledge that's assessed for that project. So there's kind of like an endless background of, if you like, curriculum, which are on the UK model, which is different to Brazil because we've recently transferred to some of our standards, is a whole background of different possibilities of I can statements around every subject you can imagine, but also around character traits, around leadership, and around well-being and various other things as well that we sort of mix together. So I guess that's how we do that. So it's that balance of being compliant with all the independent school standards, which is a big job here in the UK, and at the same time we're actually also not inspected by Ofsted anymore, where we moved to ISI as soon as we could. So we're with the Independent Schools Inspectorate, which is different. So Ofsted come and do sort of square peg round hole, you don't really fit because you're not doing what we think you should do. And the Independent Schools Association, we're with ISI, which is then linked to inspected by IS. We're with ISA, inspected by ISI, and it's like the Ronseal challenge. So they go, are you doing what you say you do on the tin? So they say, are you compliant? Yes, brilliant. And what are you doing? And why are you doing it? And let's check that you're doing that. So it's a very different experience being with ISI. So yeah, we're not Ofsted inspected anymore, but you do obviously have to go through a first Ofsted inspection to be able to switch to ISI. They have to tick you off and say you're okay to go. And that process is tricky because effectively they don't really want schools like us to exist, because we're showing you can do it different ways, and that doesn't make them too happy. Yeah.
Thank you, Claire. Someone's also asked whether you offer visit days or tours?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love people to come and visit. We do frequent tours for for educators and for families and students. So if you just contact admin@lumiar.co.uk, you are welcome to visit whenever you want.
Fantastic, thank you. So Jess has asked, do students in Lumiar schools collaborate with others abroad? That's an interesting question. So I don't know if Alice, did you have that experience where you were collaborating with other schools when you were at Lumiar?
Yeah. So in 8th grade or 7th grade, I believe, we had what we called CLUI, which was translating was Lumiar Congress for students. And so my Lumiar was in Porto Alegre, which is in the very south. And so everyone who signed up for this Congress, we flew to São Paulo, where all the Lumiars from Brazil at that time met. And the students showed their projects, their individual projects, their group projects to the other students from the different Lumiar. And most of the costs of this trip we paid by fundraising. So we as a class fundraised a decent amount to pay for everyone who was going on this congress.
Oh, amazing. That sounds really cool. So it's like a double learning experience there.
Yes, totally.
Excellent.
And we're doing more collaborations with Brazil as well at the moment as well. So we're having a couple of Reading the World sessions together, and I think there's one happening later on this week actually. So yeah, it's good. There's lots of opportunities.
Amazing. So I'm going to switch to Joe now. So Joe, can you tell, Glyn would like to know a little bit about your setup. So do the children come and choose which classes they want to attend, or do they come for like a whole day or all 3 days that you're open?
Yeah, we encourage the learners to, with the parents, to book in for the sessions that they're interested in. And that's quite interesting, particularly with those who've fallen out of school relatively quickly, because often the parents are saying they want to come, but then when you meet them, you realise actually they don't want to come, but the parents thinks they should be coming. So it takes a little sort of teasing that out. But effectively, the young people book in for the sessions that they're interested in doing based on their interests and passions. And we hold the space for them to come to those workshops. We don't really have anyone this year who comes to all 3 days. Last year, we did have a couple of learners who did come for the 3 days. It's effectively, we open the hub at 10:30 and the session starts at 11 and it finishes at 1. Then we have an hour lunch break, and those who are staying for the afternoon session will hang out normally together at lunchtime. And then we have a 2 till 4 session in the afternoon. So we don't this year have anybody with us for the full 3 days. And then obviously the pop-ups in different locations around the city happen at different times and are extra to the 3 days in the hub. So
Amazing. And I'm sneaking in with my own question now. Do the pop-up hubs and the sessions that you have at the hub, are they catering to sort of different groups kind of thing?
yeah, sometimes we find some of the long-standing home ed community will come more to the pop-ups because they're already in their rhythm and their routine. So coming for a 4-week deep dive into a science topic at Science Creates fits really well with everything else they do. And then some of the other pop-ups, I guess, are part of more a learning journey. So marine science is a year-long journey. It's a GCSE. They start in June, they finish in June. We do the in-person practicals once a term. So it's a whole day, just once a term. So the learners who are on that online journey then all get to come. So we have a group from the hub and the Bristol area who doing the online, and then they come together for the in-person practicals. So that's booked at the beginning of the year. Parents know the dates and then they choose those. And the same with drama. That's an open workshop. It's open up to the whole of the home ed community locally, and then parents will book in to come to the drama workshop, but it's obviously separate to the hub. So
Fantastic. Thanks, Joe. Okay, so Denise has asked Claire, she'd love to find out how the whole setting up phase worked, so where and how it all started. Now, I know, Claire, well, tell us about how it started, your experience of how it started, because I know you were you came in at a certain point, didn't you?
Yeah, so initially started by a group of parents that wanted something different and wanted to impact education. They decided that they were going to go with the Lumiar methodology, and started their project. I came in about a year and a bit later. At that point, they'd already decided they wanted to be an independent school and be a 5-day week provision. So they'd started the application process with Ofsted to do that, Department of Education. So they put the application in, and then we were told that we could open as a school. So we opened as a school. Ofsted then visit you within the first year. They normally give you a bit of time to get settled and start. They came in week 8, which was great, which was very difficult because we knew there was lots of things that we needed to do and wanted to do beforehand. But so that was okay. That was okay. The lady that came, I think, pretty much made a decision by the time she got to the front door. We're on a working farm. I hadn't really mentioned much about that. We're on a working farm. The students take part in farm school each week, and there were so many aspects around that they didn't feel was safe, and there was elements of too much risk that they didn't like, that we were giving the children quite a lot of freedom in the space. So that was very interesting. So we had to go through a second compliance visit, where we had a really lovely inspector that showed up with her wellies and was really lovely and really understanding. And then once we got through the second compliance visit, they were happy to hand us over. Well, they were happy that we were compliant and we could carry on being a school. And that's when we immediately made the switch to Independent Schools Inspectorate. So that's a bit around the journey. And then since then, we've been through a number of material changes around building and size and age range and various different things, and numbers, increasing our numbers. Yeah.
Yes, because you've recently expanded from primary age into secondary age.
Yeah, so in September we've just opened our secondary setting, which has been really exciting. Yeah, so we're running our secondary program now as well.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna crack on with the questions. So Daisy asks, Joe, what have been the biggest challenges that you've encountered in setting up the streams, and how did you overcome them? Oh, in particular, she's interested in how you manage occasional attendees or low numbers.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Biggest challenge, I think, what's the biggest challenge? There's so many. I mean, finances are a challenge. Our model doesn't work. And as a core team, I guess we volunteer quite a lot of the hours that we give, and we don't pay people what we would like to pay people, but we have the kindness and the generosity, which again, back to creating a sustainable model, we don't have that, and that's part of our learning. And I think every year we've gone, the first year we're like, well, let's see if we can do it and survive, and the second year we're like, well, we're still surviving, we'll keep going. And now we're in our third year and we're going, oh no, now we need a sustainable financial model, which is back to my driver for talking to the local authorities, because I do believe there's an opportunity. Bristol City Council in particular is on the edge of financial bankruptcy. So financial challenges in the council often lead to innovation and creative thinking. So that's my hope, that's my dream. And that's in collaboration with the university. We're doing going to do a joint approach and pitch it as a research study. So I think the challenge as well is often holding the space well for the range of learners. That can be difficult. And I think last year we learned a lot and we didn't always get it right. This year we're doing it better because we've got a better onboarding and getting to know young people before they come. And that means we know if they're a bit more ready. I think last year we took in some young people who really needed a bit more space before they came to join us. And I think it is hard holding the space on a bit more of an ad hoc basis. We do ask that parents commit, if they sign up for a workshop, that they commit to that workshop for the term. And it is hard. And that's also probably why our finances don't always work. Plus, we have a bursary for low income families, which when we did our projected costings for the year, we'd put at about 20%, and it's way more. But it's always hard to say no to people when they say, we'd really love to come, but I'm a single mum and I don't have much. And so, we've got to work that part out too. And also, there are lots and lots of opportunities. And again, back to how do you know which door to push? Once you start networking across the city, you actually start to realize that there are already amazing people doing amazing things. So having the time to do the other stuff, which again is about growing the vision alongside just the day-to-day. The day-to-day can be quite consuming. So how do you step back from the day-to-day to look at the bigger picture? So I think those are some of the challenges. And it depends which day you talk to me.
Yeah, I do feel like, because we've been doing that a little bit this week with the daily challenges of trying to step back. So for those who are already running something, you know, reminding yourself, what is the purpose of education? Like, why are we here? What are our values and how do we live them? And I think it's important to do that, but very difficult when you're having to do something like run something every day. So yeah, thank you, Jo. Okay, Rebecca has a really great question, which is about how do parents and young people feel and adjust when they've moved from homeschooling, or I might expand that to say like homeschooling or another school, a mainstream school, to joining Lumiar or the Hub. So I'm wondering if we could come to maybe Alice and then Honor, if you'd be up for giving your experience of how that move from regular school or homeschooling was.
So, in my experience, I went from the traditional Brazil school system, which is very, very hard, I would say. So when I was in high school, I did a quick high school year in Brazil, and I had 13 subjects as a 14-year-old. So it was quite intense, and the methodology is completely different from Lumiar, of course. But when I was first presented to Lumiar when I was 12, it was a breath of fresh air, 100%, because I was 11 thinking about what college I was going to go to and if I was going to get into college, and I wouldn't allow myself to not study for an exam, or like, you know, everything was so unproportionate to the reality that I was living at the time. And so when I was presented to Lumiar, it was a reality check of, okay, education is of course very important, but there's a way that to navigate that can be healthy. And so to me, that was wonderful. And in any way, it meant that my academic achievement went downgrade on the other, like on the opposite. It completely exploded. And I believe that Lumiar really empowers students to unlock what they have, their maximum capacity. Because in a traditional school system, you need to do it their way. And when you're in a
We might have lost Alice there. Let's see if her internet connection comes back. Okay, Alice, I think we've lost you. If your internet connection comes back, I'll bring you back on to finish off your thoughts, because it was really interesting. But Honor, would you like to share your experience?
Yeah, it was definitely a really good, but yeah, it was a really big but really good change. And I'm really grateful and happy that I got to go to Lumiar, because it definitely was a really good change, and what I felt was a really good change for me. Yeah, yeah, I felt a lot more, had a bit more freedom and a bit less pressure. Yeah, I felt I could be a bit more like, I'll be a bit more like me.
Amazing. That sounds like the perfect thing. Jo, do you have any sort of experiences you can share of your students from Streams Hub?
Yeah, I think in terms of that transitioning out of school, it's huge, and I think it's a really difficult one for parents, because I think parents are feeling very fragile. It isn't that kids are in school and one day suddenly go, I don't want to be in school. There's often a quite traumatic journey which leads them through a series of failures within the system to then get to the point where parents finally go, I can't be in school anymore. But parents then come to us going, they're not in school anymore, but they need to be somewhere. So can we bring them to you? And that can be really hard, because as we learnt last year, if you take young people in too quickly and they've not had chance to heal and they've not had space, then you're just pushing them somewhere else where they can't adjust to. And so this year's been a lot better. And actually we've met with families and with young people beforehand, and we've had a lot more conversations, and we've welcomed them to come to see the space before they decide to sign up. And that's been a really helpful process. And that deschooling period for young people, that space of doing nothing, is really is so significant, and it's really important that parents don't rush it. So I think we're in a space now of trying to support the parents a bit more, and also trying to, therefore, in supporting the parents, give the kids a bit more space. And actually Naomi Fisher's recent book, which is The Teenage Guide to Burnout in School, that has been absolutely brilliant, because it's actually something I can now give parents and say, look, you need to read this, and when you've read it, you can then give it to your young person, and you have to trust them in the process, and they will let you know when they're ready. So that's been particularly helpful for us on our journey, in terms of facilitating that young person to have space. And then when they do come in, they'll dip in a toe, and then they get a bit more confident, and they'll come back for more, and then they get known in the community. And once you know someone, once you're part of a group of other teenagers where you suddenly fit in, where you're suddenly, invited to be part of, then actually other things come quite naturally. And so that's been the joy, really, of watching young people heal and rediscover that actually they do belong, and that they can make friends, and that they do enjoy learning. And I guess that's the bit that keeps us going.
And it just echoes what Anna said about just being able to be herself, which I just think that sums it all up, really. It's amazing.
I think that's really key. I was thinking when Anna had been with us, for a lot of parents have described to me this feeling of kind of a when they started at Lumiar, and that's I experienced it through seeing Anna and Eli, my middle son, come to Lumiar, and it is just a really good way of explaining it. It's after Anna's first week, she got really emotional and sort of bit on the way home, and I said, what's the matter? And she just said, thank you. And I said, for what? And she said, for just letting me come to Lumiar. And she said that phrase, she said, because I feel like I can be me. And at that point she was 6.5, and I just thought, who in the world have you thought you've had to be other than yourself these last few years? Like, that's so tragic for me, that you felt like you couldn't be you and you're 6. And that she was able to express that. But yeah, just that feeling of a kind of is really tangible. It's something we can actually see and feel, and it is really, really special, just putting a child into an environment where they can be free, I guess, and not have that pressure that is there.
Yeah, in a regular school. And I just want to echo, because Bobby, who is one of the students at Lumiar, has said that they experience both mainstream and Lumiar UK, and Lumiar has changed their life. So I think that just really sums it up, doesn't it? That's amazing. Okay, I think I think we might have lost Alice. So unfortunately, we won't be able to hear the finishing of Alice's thoughts. But I'm going to squeeze another question in. So let me just find another question. Okay. So let's see. Oh, so Glyn asks of Claire, this is very specific to Lumiar. Glyn is looking for a venue, and a farm is one that they've looked at. How do you make it financially sustainable while needing a space to hold the school?
Well, the farm's not ours, so we rent a building on the farm. So if that's linked to that, I guess, is that we don't own the working farm. So we rent a barn, effectively a barn space from the farm. But we work with them, and they run Stanford Education Centre, which is on the site, which is another educational facility for homeschoolers as well to take part in some farming. So effectively, we don't have to think about the management of that because we don't own the farm. We're just on the working farm. So but it really does add to what we can bring, because we're, as well as sort of bringing the 21st century skills, you know, and all these things that we know we need to prepare children with, we're also really connected with nature and with the environment that we're in, and being on a farm really helps the students to be able to just really connect with their environment. But yes, I guess it's a bit different because we don't own the farm.
Yeah, thank you. My daughter, by the way, would absolutely love farm school. So if anyone wants to open a farm school near Colchester and Essex, please just let me know.
It's one of Honna's favourite things. She tells everyone she's got her gold milking licence. She can officially milk a cow, this girl.
Wow, that's so cool.
And
I
Bobby.
need to add that to my list. That's amazing. Oh, and Daisy also asks, another tangent, did you consider delivering an alternative to GCSEs at Lumiar?
Yeah, we still haven't decided on quite what we're going to do with the whole year 10 and 11. So we're exploring that at the moment now. So we're looking into lots of different options, GCSEs being one of them. So yeah, we are looking into lots of different things. Our secondary school works with Da Vinci Life Skills curriculum. So it's slightly different in a sense of needing the content. So it's still project-based learning and still exciting, relevant topics that they follow as part of their projects, but it is a more of a set curriculum rather than having they have the set structure, and then they have freedom within that to manipulate it. But effectively they're following a bit more of a curriculum at the moment in year 7, 8 and 9, but in a project-based way. So yeah, we're not sure yet what it's going to look like. Tom, who is the secondary lead, and I are talking at the moment because we need to get an application into the Department for Education to decide quite what we're going to do. So yeah, we're looking at lots of different options.
Fantastic, thank you. And I think I'm going to squeeze in one last question, and then this is going to be it. So Elnaz has contacted me, and they ask, do you have all kinds of children at your school? Do you include those who have disabilities or are neurodiverse? And I think we'll kind of like, and how does it work for them? I think I'll ask part of your question, Elnaz, if that's okay. So Joe, do you want to talk about that in terms of the streams, and then I'll come to Claire?
Yeah, we have a lot of neurodivergent young people. I would say probably 80% have some have EHCPs, very few have EHCPs, some are waiting to be assessed. I think what I find, two parts there. One, we're very clear with parents, we're not specialist provision. We don't look to be specialist provision. We're really looking to work with young people that there are better places to go if they need specialist support, specialist provision. What is interesting though, is we have young people come to us where the parents say, this is really bad, they can't manage this, you know, they've got ADHD or they're autistic, and in school X, Y, and Z happens. And then they come into our space and actually they're brilliant. They engage, they participate, they're part of groups, they work, they collaborate, they focus on tasks. They've got a high degree of agency, so obviously they can go to the toilet when they want, they can get a drink when they want, they can eat their lunch when they want. So we have a lot of flexibility, and it's really fascinating for me, really from a research perspective, of looking at how much the environment affects the special need, if there is such a thing as having a special need. And so I think when you take a child who's been identified as schools having lots of complex needs and is bouncing between all these different agencies and waiting for diagnosis, and you put them into an environment which is very different, actually they thrive. And those neurodivergent tendencies, features, diagnoses, whatever we want to call them, suddenly become significantly less, and they discover themselves and they grow in who they are, and their confidence grows, and they become back to belonging and being part of a community with choice. So yeah, I think that's probably enough.
Yeah, and they can be themselves, Jo.
Yeah.
Claire, what are your what's your experience at Lumiar?
We have, I guess we have lots of people come to me for lots of different reasons. So we have I guess we have a group of people that have been homeschooling, don't want mainstream, want 5-day week school, but don't want a mainstream school. So they come to us. We have other people that just want something different, our system is not to scratch and they just want something different. That would have been me regardless of whether I'm running the school or not. And then we have other people that have tried to access education and for whatever reason it doesn't work for them. And some of those children will have EHCPs and, like Jo said, will come to our provision, come to our school, and all of a sudden all the things they saw in mainstream that they couldn't handle is absolutely fine, and we don't see the same behaviours because they can work on a beanbag if they want to, on a clipboard, or they can stand. We've got some children that have standing desks, or they can get up and move if they need to, or fiddle when they want to. And the expectation isn't that they're sitting facing the front having to listen to us drill them with content all day, because it's really collaborative through our projects. So yeah, so I guess we've got lots of different families that come for lots of different reasons, and I guess some children, everyone is so unique and different, right? We talk about superpowers all the time at our school, so I think rather than focusing on what needs we have or what special needs we have, I think we just focus on everyone's superpowers, and celebrate that. You know, we have some children that are super creative, we have some that really love maths, we have some that really struggle with writing, we have some that really thrive with writing. But if we just learn, I think one of the things I love the most about our environment that just makes me sort of smile on a daily basis is that we are full of such a wonderful eclectic mix of people. And it's just beautiful to see. We had a boy who used to come rocking a beret every so often, and no one used to say a thing. And I used to think, this is brilliant, because if this was a normal school, no one would be able to get away with wearing a beret. That's a really silly example, but you know, people are just allowed to come and be them and be free to learn an environment where they can just be themselves and be celebrated for their wonderful things about them, know their purpose and reach their dreams. And if I can create a learning environment where that is what it looks like, then yeah, that's brilliant. And Lumiar allows us to do that, and the methodology allows us to create amazing projects that are relevant and interesting and fun, and the students have a great time doing them.
Amazing. Thank you, Claire, and thank you, Claire. Thank you, Honor. Thank you, Jo and Bobby, for putting your comments in the chat, and to Alice, who dropped out, but I'll say thank you to Alice anyway. It was so great to have you here, answering all your questions. So I think there were some questions we couldn't get to in the chat, so please do. I think Claire and Jo have both offered, if you need to contact them to ask more questions, you can contact Lumiar School, and you can contact Jo at the Streams Hub. So please do get in touch with them, and I'm sure they'd be happy to answer all the questions in snatches of minutes between running their respective schools. So, as you said, Claire, part of what you offer at Lumiar is the ability to follow your dreams, and that moves fantastically on to our next guest, who is going to come and talk to us and encourage us and support us and empower us to follow our dreams. So welcome, Simon Squibb, if you'd like to show yourself.
Hi.
Hopefully you're there. Hi, Simon.
How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How's your day been?
Good, yeah. Spent the day with my son. Not a bad life.
Excellent. It sounds the best day for a homeschooler.
100%.
So Simon, are you happy to give a little introduction to who you are and what you do, and maybe encourage us to think about how we can take these ideas about setting up schools and turn them into something real?
Sure, yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me. I think this whole child-led learning approach, I'm really excited about it because I do believe quite passionately that there's a real problem with the present education, traditional education system. So I think the service that you're offering and what you're trying to do to help people figure out what the correct way education can work for our children is really exciting, and I'm glad I can be here to support. I guess I'm a father. I've got an 8-year-old son who I absolutely adore, and I find every single day he teaches me something, and I really enjoy his company and enjoy figuring out, what what makes him laugh, and he makes me laugh all the time, and I feel like a very lucky dad that I get to spend so much time with him. When he was born, I was very lucky. I just sold my company, a company called Fluid, to PricewaterhouseCooper, and I retired at 40 and was able to spend the first 2 years of his life pretty much a full-time dad, and I feel really lucky to have that time and had that time with him. And I think I had lots of different experiences as a full-time dad. I was often the only dad with the pushchair in the coffee shop. I found it very hard to make friends with people at that time. Anyway, my background is business. I tend to only talk about business, and since retiring from, I guess, the needing to make money approach to business, I've been running a kind of philanthropy project where I try to help people for free follow their dreams. Sometimes when I describe some of these stats, this feels a bit like a boast, but I've written a book called What's Your Dream? It was the #1 best-selling book this year on how hardback books, and it's helped hundreds of thousands of people undo some damage that was done at school about their subconscious belief systems, and help people actually realize that, hey, they can follow their dreams and they can back themselves, and that anything is possible and they can take agency over their lives. And so I'm really proud that book's done so well, because I put my heart and soul into making sure that book could help a lot of people. I've the last few years been using social media for social good, and every single day I basically promote someone on my social media channel that has a dream and try to help them make it happen. And I help them with a combination of funding and marketing and community support. So I have the world's largest entrepreneurial community, a platform called Help Bank. We have 300,000 entrepreneurs that pledge to help everybody every day without any expectation of anything in return. And we, as I mentioned, we fund entrepreneurs, but one of the powerful things we built up is a social media platform of 18 million followers. Here's my son now. Come say hello. And we get just over 500 million views a month, which is more views than the BBC on our channel. And the whole premise of the channel is you tell me your dream, and then I share that with the world, and then the world helps you. So just a few days ago, someone told me their dream was to get sponsored by Nike. The video got 50 million views, and Nike is now sponsoring them. So it's really trying to show people that anything is possible. And I want to inspire my son, because I believe that kids don't do what you say, they do what you do. So whenever I do have to leave him and go to work, it's not because I have to make money, which I think, is a fair thing to say, but I think sometimes I prefer to say I'm going out there to help people. I'm going out there to make a difference in the world. And I do make money, and I think there's nothing wrong with making money, and we all need to make money. But I think for me, I like to show my son, not tell my son. So every single day we try to help people. Exactly. 1 second. Okay, I'm actually on Zoom. Can we see everyone's here? So I can't. Whispering things to me. But we often talk about the purpose of life. What's the purpose of life, Aidan?
Purpose.
A life with purpose. Exactly. And so anyway, that's me. I guess these days I class myself as an angel investor. I'm an entrepreneur who builds businesses, and I try to help people by building businesses that are for profit, for good. And that's my story. Yeah, I know. And by the way, I've also got a TikTok live going right now, and someone just made us look like lions. So that's fun.
Amazing. What an addition to the webinar. Thank you, Simon. That's amazing, and it's lovely to meet you as well, Aidan. Welcome to our webinar here. So for everyone here, Simon is here to answer questions, and it's great that you're here to answer business questions because lots of people here are really passionate. They're really excited about starting something, starting a school, starting a learning community, giving people something else, another option to regular school. But obviously, to set this up, it needs to be a sustainable business model. So I do think we'll have people who have questions for you around business and might also just have questions about homeschooling as well. So if anyone has any questions, please do pop them in the chat. And I'm actually going to start with a question that we had come in via email beforehand, because I think it was really pertinent. It's from Tim, and Tim asks a question which I think is something which a lot of us probably suffer with, which is how to value their time. So they put a lot of their time and effort into facilitating in a self-directed education setting, but often ends up finding that they work sort of either for not enough money or for free, and it's sort of, how do you find that balance between doing something you're passionate about and that you want to offer to everyone, but also being able to be paid so that you can live?
Yeah, so I think that we do get taught generally to sell time and think about things in hours. I think on that point, the thing I've learned is you should sell by outcomes. Try to get away from this hourly mindset. Most of my personal success has come from not selling my time because it's a limited amount of it, but from selling solutions to problems. And so try to think about, the most successful people I know, they buy time, they don't sell time. So it really is trying to think about, what you can bring as an outcome as opposed to the hours you can sell and the pricing of it. On the value side, there is a strange thing that I've noticed where, in society in general, where if you do good, for some reason you think you're not allowed to earn a lot of money. And so I think this is partly, again, the business structural side. You've got charities one side that, if you pay someone well, there's all hell breaks out, right? So, but if a banking institution gives people mortgages they can't afford and makes 150 million from it, it's like, okay, fine. So I think it's upside down, actually. I really believe that people that are doing good should be earning the most. And so one of the reasons what I run today isn't a charity is because I don't want to deal with that rubbish. I want to pay people really well. And I want people who do good. We help hundreds of people every week. I want the people that do that to be paid really well. If they went to work for Google, they'd paid really well. So why, if they work helping people in my organization, shouldn't they be paid really well? They should. And I think sometimes some organizations, because of their structure, they almost ask people to get paid badly because they're doing good. I think the best platforms do both. And I think when you're building your business, my personal opinion is, if you're building something that really helps people and makes a difference in the world, you should get paid really well.
Cowboy.
Exactly. So,
Cowboy.
yeah. So yeah, I guess, it's really hard without knowing the specifics on Tom's particular pricing structure and so on. When I'm guessing that they're building a school, I would think about things in multiple income streams. So, of course, there's always going to be a limit on how much you can charge a parent or a family for a thing. So how else can you make money? And so within my platform, there's about 18 different ways that my system makes money every single day. I don't charge people for help. My system does not charge people for help. We will never cross that line. We don't sell courses. We don't charge people. We don't leave anyone behind. We help people. We give them free education every single day. But I do, for example, have a YouTube channel where I've got the most popular business video of all time in the world on YouTube, 14 million views. Every single month that video makes money, and we have sponsors and we get view income. And so, but the people watching the video, they get all that knowledge for free. So I just think there's so many ways to make money now, and people don't explore all the different ways. And I think you should be very proactive when it comes to making money, because money solves nearly all problems when it comes to business. And so if you're struggling to fill in the paperwork that the government's imposing on us, but if you have enough profit, you can hire someone to do it. It's just that simple. So I think, if you're doing something you love, you have to also love making money doing it. Otherwise, it will always be a little bit tricky. And I know when people are doing something they love, again, there's some weird psychology. When you're probably at, mainstream school, I know I've seen it before. When I was at school, 13, 14, a friend of mine was a painter, and they're like, yeah, you're not going to make any money out of that. And we know you love it, but you're not going to make any money out of it. So, do something serious. And I know some painters that make quite a lot of money. And they make money in multiple ways. They sell the actual painting, the original, they sell prints, they do online stuff making the paintings that make money. They do events where they get paid, so there's just, it's learning to accept that what you love can be profitable and should be, and you should not be ashamed of it or embarrassed to make money. I think, again, there's plenty of people out there doing bad businesses that make a lot of money. So why shouldn't good businesses make a lot of money?
That's a really interesting thing to take away. And actually, I do think that there's a mindset there, isn't there, about how, like, I feel like when you give yourself the permission to make the money, then you open yourself up to more opportunities about how that money might come to you, right?
100%.
So, yeah. Okay. So there's a couple of people in the chat who are asking about how, so you said you're an angel investor. How do you get angel investors or sort of philanthropists? How do you pitch to them, and how do you get them excited about your project if you're running in a school or learning community?
Yeah, so investment is like any other sales process, and everybody can sell. Introvert, extrovert, it doesn't matter. Everybody can sell. I think my third most popular business video on YouTube is how to sell. And it is, if you're an introvert, there's just different tools and different ways and different processes. And if you're an extrovert, of course, there's obvious ways like knocking on doors, sometimes literally, sometimes metaphorically. Don't hit the computer because you'll turn it off by mistake, dude. All right.
We lose Simon, we know what happened.
Yeah, come around this way. So yeah, I think with investors, there's kind of generally, different types of investors. There's a very long answer to this question if I'm not careful. I've done a very long video on it, but the short version, because I can really go into this, is you've got different categories, right? First of all, is like family and friends, always going to be the easiest people to raise money from because they know you. And so as long as you set good boundaries, so you don't ruin Sunday lunch, what are the rules? You're going to be your money and probably going to lose it all. Or I'm going to try not to lose it all, but you might lose it all. But family and friends, easiest people to get on board because they know you. The next kind of level is, like, of course, angel investors, people like me, where you can pitch. Takes a little bit of time because I don't invest in someone I met today. It takes time, right? You have to do diligence on me. I have to do diligence on you. I have to go to the school, make sure it's real, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got VCs, which are institutional investment vehicles, which I like and don't like, depending on who's behind them, but they're often very money orientated and a little harder. And then you've got the IPO structure, which probably not relevant for this, but I think the way I always look at investment is most people, when they think they want money, they don't. They need pre-orders or customers. So most of the time, people like the idea of an investor because they've watched Dragon's Den way too many times.
The pre-orders.
Now, if they need pre-orders, they're on the right track. So, you know, again, if I was starting a school today, I would have all my costs worked out, and then I would get, I would see if I could get people to pre-book before I even put a deposit down for anything. So I'd say, you know, whatever the school fee is, £6,000, how many people commit to doing it if I sign all the paperwork on it? And then if you get, you know, 20 people saying yes, you've got £120,000, right? So you can get a lot of this stuff done through customer acquisition. And getting an investor is one of the reasons I started making content, because I just saw the only business education that's out there is Dragon's Den. So, you know, these guys and girls with money, and you're so scared. Is it okay if I have some? And most of the time, you don't need them. And if you get an investor, they can be your boss. You just got a new boss, someone that wants their money back. And I personally built 19 companies, and the ones that have done the best are the ones where I'm just left to build the company. So hey, don't touch it. Don't touch it. So yeah, I think I often think people don't need an investor. They think they do, and it sounds nice, and certainly it's nice to have some money come in, but then you have, you know, a new boss for 10 years, someone who wants their money out. And are you sure? If you're absolutely sure, most of the time it's someone close by to you that's the best investor, or at least someone, you know, that has the same moral code as you is very important. Someone that has the same vision as you. Again, I've seen people get investors and then the whole business stolen off them. There's all these rosy images of getting an investor, and I hear a lot of horror stories. I always say to people, are you sure you need an investor? Most of the time you don't. It's just you want a shortcut or you want a bit of comfort, and I get it, but it might end up being more pain in the long run. If you genuinely need investors, the best way is to have a thriving business. They just turn up. I literally have someone every day offering to invest in my business every day, and I'm not even asking, just because they can see it's doing well and they're like, oh, can I get involved? And that is the best sales, proactive and reactive. People coming to you, reactive sales is the best, right? It's so much easier to sell something if someone comes to you. If you're like, hey, do you want to invest? Oh, I could do, I guess. Tell me more. And it's a lot of work, right? Whereas if someone says, I saw your business, I absolutely love it. I think it's got potential. I'd like to get involved. Much easier sales process, right? So just build a great business and investors will come your way.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And actually, one of the questions that I was going to ask, because sort of a lot of the some of the questions people are asking about how to get investment, but also it's about how do you, you know, how do you pitch it? And I'm thinking, you know, how do you pitch it to an investor is one thing, but how do you pitch it to your customers or your families who want to join you? So I don't know if you've got anything you want to say around that in terms of like how do you reach people? How do you get to the right people who want to be part of your community?
Lots of different things there. I I think I like building in public content. So I've recently invested in a business, and I found out about them because they were making content about them trying to make the business happen. And so, you know, they share their highs and lows behind the scenes. You know, they share their kid trying to unplug your laptop while you're doing a Zoom. You know, they just share it all. And I think that's one really powerful way. It's just total transparency. Not everyone wants to go on camera. I understand that. I think it's a mistake, to be honest. I didn't like going on camera when I first started. Very embarrassed, very cringe. Didn't like it at all. But I pushed through the pain, and now I can press a button and launch any business. I've got 18 million people in my community that will support whatever I get behind. And so, you know, community sometimes is on the other end of cringe, but community is also something that happens naturally if you're really passionate about a particular subject. Like I'm really passionate about home education, hence I'm here. And I am sure one of two of you, I saw in the comments, one or two of you bought my book already, or on my platform, I just saw someone saying, you know, so, you know, it's interesting when you share your point of view, you share your opinion, how a community can rally behind you, sometimes without you even realizing it. But social media following, building, low cost community structures like on a WhatsApp group, or I use Discord. I have 21,000 entrepreneurs on there. I have helpbank.com itself, of course, with 300,000 entrepreneurs on there. I'm live right now on TikTok with 748 people listening in. So I'm bringing people along with me every single day, showing the highs and lows of it. And I think that's how you build community. The most important thing about community is what value you can bring the community, not what the community can do for you. So I see a lot of brands trying to get community to do things for them. They send you an email, please fill out this survey. So they're just using their community. I think the way to build a community is bring value to that community, and the community will be there anytime you need them. But yeah, community is an art form. It is also a massive competitive advantage against the big boys and girls. So I think, yeah, look, I mean, when I say, make a video every day showing your journey, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like going on camera. I get it. But, I think you got to figure out what works for you. But I really believe right now in the opportunity around social media. A lot of young people telling me quite rightly they can't afford a house. True, it's a cost of living crazy. So what's the upside at this time in history? You can make a video today about your idea and it can get 100 million people viewing it and it will cost you nothing. Nothing. So if you've already got a phone, you're already on Wi-Fi, it'll cost you nothing except a bit of cringe. So get over yourself and do it. That's what I say. But, if you don't want to take advantage of that incredible moment in history right now where you can do those sorts of things, then there's loads of other things you can do too. I started my first business at 15 years old, knocking on the front door of a house and saying, hey, I'll tidy up your garden and become your gardener. Is that all right? So I had to go out in the freezing cold and knock on doors. And, so I did it. Did I like it? No. Did I want to be a knock on the door salesperson at 15 years old? No, I did not. Did it bring me financial freedom and the ability to do whatever I want now in my life? Yes. So there's always going to be a yin yang to things, right? You have to have some pain to have some gain sort of vibe. But yeah.
Push past the cringe. I love it.
Pretty much.
So there was a question in here which I know, so you obviously haven't built your own school or learning community yet. Maybe that's in the future, maybe.
Got it online.
Oh, yeah, online. And so Kate has asked, how do you take or build an education environment that's sort of turns from an idealistic thing into something that is realistic? So it's like, how do you take this big dream and turn it into something that it actually exists in the world?
Yeah, so I think I can use my own story as an example of this. When I started this 6 years ago, my general ambition was to update the education system to include things that I felt were missing, like financial literacy, business intelligence, sales techniques, all very useful no matter what you do in life and all teachable, none of them taught in school. So when I started, I was like, oh no, I'll maybe I'll get into politics and become business secretary or education secretary somehow. And so I started on that route, quickly realized that I'd have to pretend I thought Brexit was a good idea, which would go against every business know-how I have. So I wasn't going to get into politics because I'd have to lie and pretend that was a good idea. So I quickly realized that wasn't where I was going to go. And then someone said something to me, you can't put a fire out in a house from inside the house. You have to do it from outside the house. So that stuck with me and I thought, okay, what can I do? So I started actually originally just interviewing other really successful business people. And the idea was make a podcast. We have like a mentorship in a podcast. So you could listen to Nick Jenkins at Moonpig tell you how he built that business, how he raised the money, how he built the brand. And then, he's very busy. He's not going to be able to sit down with everybody in the world. So I put it up online. Anyone can go and listen. And it did okay. Hundreds of thousands of people listened to these podcasts. It was good. And then I thought, oh, I know, I want to know what people are actually struggling with, why they're not starting businesses. So I went into the street and started asking people. And one of the things that ended up as is a content series, like, what's your dream? Well, I go up to people and ask them what their dream is. Then they tell me their dream. And again, I mentioned earlier, I put it up online. Now, I'm sharing the journey because my original idea was to fix the education system. And so, you know, I pushed against the different ways it could be done. And so my dream was to fix the education system. And so politics, forget it. And then social media content, and it started to make money and started to work. And I think that the way I look at it now is maybe I was a bit naive thinking I could fix the system, because the system works just how it presently most of the existing system members want it to work. So I've now built an alternative to the education system. So if you want to learn business, then you can go watch all my content that's free. And you can, if you want help with your dream, you can go pitch to my Doorbell of Dreams. I've got these places where you can go pitch your dream, but you can also join my network and get help for free from community. And if you want funding, you can apply for it. So, and I've now managed to convince Sir Richard Branson and other really high-profile people to join me and help in this mission. And so we have built an alternative to the existing education system, as far as, like, if you've got a kid in school in Wales who feels like they don't want to go down the traditional path and they really like the idea of starting a business of their own, that teacher in Wales signposts them to our content. And just, you know, just last week, I had a very famous parent tell me that they told their kids to read my book and watch our content because they know their kids are not enjoying the forced academic approach. So, so we have become at the present a default secondary option if you don't want to go to university. Instead, you'd actually like to start a business. And so, you know, will everyone start a business? Of course not. But, you know, with AI taking a lot of jobs, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be no choice for a lot of people. So, and university has 264 million people in university right now. And they're getting taught stuff that isn't going to be relevant when they come out of university 4 years from now. So there's going to be a lot of people, just like now, 52% of kids coming out of university in England right now can't find a job. So what are they going to do? Sit around waiting for a job or create one for themselves? I look at the numbers on my platform. I can tell you right now, they're going to have to start one of their own. And that's why they're watching the content that we have produced. So we have built an alternative. So, you know, when building out an education dream, I think I'm doing it. I haven't yet gone into the physical spaces. We do 26 events a year. So there's a kind of a physical ecosystem that we have. In the next 2 years, I will build physical locations, invest in physical locations. But then that's how I've made, it's taken 6 years, by the way. Every single day I've made content. Every single day I've worked on this for the last 6 years. So again, my original dream, fix the education system, realized I can't fix that. It doesn't want me to fix it. So I built an alternative, and maybe one day the alternative is so popular that they go, oh, we might as well just use what Simon's built.
Yeah. And that's part of what we do, Joe and I do with education startups, is we want to, like, empower all these people to create new and different ways for kids to learn, for young people to develop, so that finally, hopefully, at some point, someone will look at these and go, hang on, they actually work. Is there not something that we can do on a wider scale? So someone in the chat asked, it was Dejin actually, can you give ideas and inspiration on how to create other income for schools? So I'd like to hear your idea, Simon, but also I'd like to invite everyone who's on the call, pop some ideas in the chat, because this feels like the sort of creative brainstorming that we need to do here. What other ways could you make money and make sure that you have a sustainable financial space for your learning school or learning community? So pop some ideas in the chat. Simon, you dropped a few in earlier, but is there anything that you've kind of seen or that you've done with your online school that have worked? Obviously, you talk a lot about social media and the money you make off of your YouTube videos. Is there anything else that you could sort of recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I do think the education structure, because we're dealing with kids, is a tricky one for additional revenue streams. it's interesting because I think the initial thinking might be, okay, how can I take my existing business and make more money from it, right? But it might be that there's other ways to do it. So an example of what I mean, it's so my book is available on TikTok Shop right now. Okay. Now you can buy my book on TikTok Shop, and then and if you like it, you can do a video quickly saying, I just you can do it POV, by the way, don't even show your face, which is like the book. This book's really cool, I love it, and then upload it. And then you can tag on TikTok Shop the book. Now that video will play overnight while you're sleeping, and then people might like that and go, oh, I'm going to buy that book. And every time they do, you can make a 10% commission on that book. Now, I'm just using that as an example. It doesn't have to be my book, but like sometimes we think the only way to make money is to, print a book, write a book, publish a book, market a book ourselves. But there can be a book that you believe in. And these videos go viral, by the way. The ones that are the lowest budget production, often the ones that get the most virality. But I'm just giving you as an example, right? To kind of, because sometimes our brains get a little bit locked into, okay, I can charge tuition fee. What else? I could do a school trip. You get a bit caught in your little, and I know myself, I get caught in my own little like bubble of my business. And there are all sorts of ways to make money that you haven't explored. So if I say to you, you can sell on TikTok Shop, limiting belief system might kick in. You'll be like, oh, my video, I'm not, it's not going to go viral. I'm not, it's not going to work for me, Simon. And you haven't even tried it yet. You don't even know. And then, I do think content from you about your journey, of course, probably can't have the kids in the video, but you sharing your story, you'll be shocked how much money social media generates. It's like the new TV. I'm shocked. I've been in business 35 years. I'm shocked how much money's in social media. And you can post one video on YouTube and one video on YouTube makes £120,000 a month. Like it has blown my mind. And so, yes, if you make a video on YouTube about building your school, I'm not saying it's going to make £120,000. I'm saying it could. And I'm saying it might be nice to document the journey anyway. I made videos of me and Aidan when he was like 2 months old, 3 months old, 6 months old, 12 months old. They're all privated videos now. I go watch them sometimes. It's just so lovely. The worst, it's a nice memory. It's but you never know these things. If you get good at making YouTube videos, and it is like anything, the more you do it, the better you get, you can make money out of you sharing your journey, building your school. And ironically, you could make more money from sharing your journey, building your school than the actual school makes. And I've got loads of examples of this. I helped two twins out, obviously two twins out, and their whole business model initially was cleaning. So for some reason, they love cleaning. It's therapeutic. They enjoy it. My worst nightmare personally, but they love it. They love it.
My house.
And so they started a cleaning business. And I said to them, why don't you do like before and after videos and, just show you cleaning things. And they took my advice and upped it a bit. And they started cleaning places no one asked them to clean. They're called James and John. They have a saying, which is like, I'm James and I'm John, and we clean places no one asked us to clean. And they make £15,000 a month now from cleaning things that no one asked them to clean and making videos about it. And it supplements their cleaning business. And also, of course, promotes their cleaning business. So when I first met them 2 years ago, there was a family of 5. They're twins, a family of 5, living in one room on their own in London, about to be evicted. And now they've got a 5-bedroom house and they've got an amazing social media presence. They have fun cleaning places no one asked them to clean. They cleaned a British Airways plane, for example. I think it got 10 million views or something, So they got paid by British Airways to clean the plane, and they made a video that made money cleaning the plane. And they're both like 21 years old. So and I know, I'm so glad I've got these examples, because so many people would be like, no, it's not possible, is it? It's not going to work for me. There's so many people on YouTube already. It's not going to. You've got to remove these things that stop you from believing these things are possible, because of course, if you don't try, it won't happen. You're right. And if you try half-hearted, it won't happen either. But if you're consistent and you have a passion for your idea, which I'm pretty sure everybody here is here because they really believe in what they want to do, you just got to put that passion into execution on other revenue streams. But yeah, I mean, making money, there's so many ways. This is so many ways. I think it's all about your personality too, and what skills you've got. If you can paint, do paintings and sell them. That can supplement your school. You can sell it all on TikTok Shop now. You know, I don't work for TikTok, but I'm just blown away about how easy it is now to set up a business. You don't need bricks and mortar. You can literally just press a button and start selling your product on TikTok Shop tomorrow. Go live, you know. 793 people on my live right now, literally listening to this. Buy my book while I'm talking to you guys.
Yeah.
Crazy new world, right?
It is crazy, and I feel like it's a world that if you're not in it, it can feel really difficult to get into, or there's something that stops you kind of getting into it. So for those people who are sort of struggling to either get into something like social media or to talk to people, we had one question come in via email from Angarad, which was about he wanted to pitch a book to schools. Like, how do you sort of push through that, as you say earlier, like push through the cringe, push through the fear, and get the word out to people? Have you got any tips or advice?
Yeah, and I know it's really hard doing these sorts of talks because, you know, if I understood the individuals and the different issues people have, and it is hard when, you know, it's so easy to say just push through the cringe and do it. I do understand. I have gone through the process myself. When I first did a live, okay, I went live on TikTok, there was no one there. So I'm talking to myself. And then one person came in the room and I'm like, oh, hello, who are you? And then they left. So I'm back to talking to myself. So I am literally like, why am I on this live talking to myself? You know, like, I'm a successful guy. This is weird. And I realize it's because that's how you practice, right? You know, it's how you get uncomfortable, you do it, and then next time you do it, there's two people there and they don't leave because you got a little bit better at communicating. So I do have a very weird way of pushing through the cringe. It might be a bit extreme. It's just my strange way of doing it. So forgive me if it sounds a bit harsh. And I think there's no kids anymore here, so I want to be sensitive if there's any kids listening in. But there is. I just saw Glenn's got a little one there, so maybe I won't say what I was going to say. I think it's important to just realize it's not about you. I think when I was starting to do the content at the beginning, I made it about me a little bit, like, oh, this is embarrassing. And then I had some friends of mine, you know, tease me a bit, you know, and I was like, oh, this is, maybe I don't do this. And then I just thought about that 15-year-old me who left school without all the necessary tools. And I'm like, I can't let that happen anymore. You know, it's still happening. Nothing's changed from when I was at school. And so what? You know, being famous is a sacrifice. I can tell you, if someone's become famous, it is a sacrifice. It is not a privilege. It is not good news. It is bad news. It's a nightmare. I can't walk down the high street anymore without people wanting to talk to me and stop me when I'm with my son. It is, you are definitely making a sacrifice if you go down the route of social media. But the mission is so important, it's worth it. And I think that's the way you have to think about it. It's not about you. So if you're making it about you and the cringe is about you and you're embarrassed about it, it's not about you. It's about the mission you're on. And if you don't do it, your mission is less likely to succeed. I have a very extreme way of putting it, but I won't say it because there's kids here. But like, you have to believe, you have to push through it. You know, like otherwise, you less chance of your dream happening. And if your dream doesn't happen, you're going to sit there at 90 with regret. That's worse because you can't go back in time and fix it. Then it's too late. You don't want to live with regret. So do the cringy thing now. Realize it's not about you anyway. Do it so your mission actually happens, and then you won't live with regret, and that'll be a far better state of mind later in life.
Whether or not it succeeds, right?
100%. Failure is an awesome experience.
I'm still learning that, honestly. And also, I feel like it's really interesting you say that, because I feel like that is something that young people don't learn in school. Like they experience failure as a bad experience, you get compared to other people, etc.
Of course, you're an A, you're a success, you're a D, you're a failure.
Yeah,
Get me started on all the things school don't teach. That's why we're all here, isn't it?
it is. Right, we are really close to the end of the session, and I want to spend just a few minutes at the end telling the audience about our education startups community. But I just want to thank you, Simon, for coming and speaking to people this evening. There were loads of things in the chat that we didn't get to, so please do get in touch with Simon. He is obviously on all the social media. He still has his pitch sessions, the doorbell pitch sessions, and also it sounds like Help Bank would be a fantastic resource for people here who are wanting to start up their own schools and learning communities, because they can ask loads of other people who are their own starting up their own thing. So thank you very much, Simon, for coming and joining us this evening, and
Thank you
best
for
of
what
luck
you're doing.
with everything that you're doing. It's amazing. It's amazing work. So it's been lovely to have you here.
Likewise, nice to chat to everybody.
Fantastic. So the big question now for everyone is, what are you going to do now? Don't let this week's challenge, the Empower Challenge, and this webinar be the end. This is the start of something that you are creating, something you are expanding. So I invite you now to write down one thing that you're going to do, because taking one action is how you get there. You just take one step, one action, you take one step at a time, and that's how you create something amazing. But if you do feel like you want more inspiration, more knowledge, more community in your next step, I'm just going to talk to you for a few minutes about our education startups community. So if you do choose to join us in the membership, you'll be joining a growing number of people who are taking steps towards launching their own schools and learning communities. And as well as just being there with other people who are on the same journey as you, which can be really comforting and just helpful to share tips and experience, the membership offers monthly webinars from experts who are running their own schools and learning communities, or around particular topics. These subjects, the topics, can be suggested by you in the community. So if there's something that you particularly want to know about, we've talked about restorative justice. We've talked about we've talked about different setups for the schools. We've talked about curriculum, and we also have founders who come in and answer your questions. So you can ask all the difficult stuff. Next year, so far, we have some guests lined up, including we have Johnny Field, who is the co-founder with Charlotte Church of the Arwen project in Wales. We have Henry Redhead joining us in February, who is now the deputy principal at the world famous Summerhill School in Suffolk. Hayley Peacock, who is the founder of Atelier 21, and Mina Wood, who is an ex-Ofsted inspector, will be joining us. We also have Anil Sana, who is the founder of the Hebden Bridge Learning Community, and Kim Hopkins, who is the Director of Learning Resources and Support for Lives in the Balance. So they support people working with children in a compassionate and collaborative way. So we have all of these lined up already. And then, as well as our monthly webinars, we also run monthly community group sessions. So far this year, they've been around coaching. But if you join us by next Wednesday, we are hosting our first co-creation session, where we're going to be deciding how we want to run as a community. So we're going to practice what we preach in our communities and work together to work out how best to make use of that space. And then you also get access to all of the previous webinars that we've run since 2022. So you can soak up all of that knowledge if you join us in the community. If you'd like to join us, there is a membership fee. It's £29 a month. But if you're interested, you can join us at educationstartups.org/community. And you're there for as long as you need us. So we just want to build that community and build the practitioners that are doing this stuff, the really hard stuff, on the ground every day. If you have any more questions, do get in touch with us. you can email us info@educationstartups.org, and we'll get back to you and help you on your journey, however you decide to join us. So there we are. We are here to empower the next generation of education pioneers. Joe and I, we want to make this a space where people can launch something and feel like they're changing the world. So thank you so much to everyone for joining us here this evening. To everyone who joined us for the week as well for our live challenges on Facebook. It's genuinely been such a pleasure to have you here, and I really look forward to hearing how whatever anyone is doing next. So do keep in touch with us and let us know what you're launching. We love hearing the stories. And it's been absolutely wonderful to have you all here this evening. Thank you so much.